First contact and discovery. Captain Nivara Tezek stood on the command deck of the Galactic Confederation survey vessel Horizon Seeker, her 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display of the small blue-green planet below. Earth, as its inhabitants called it, was supposed to be a routine survey mission, catalog the primitive species, assess resource potential, and move on. But something wasn't right. "Commander Krell, these readings can't be correct," she said, her scaled fingers tapping against the console. "Run the scan again." Commander Krell, a stocky humanoid with crystalline skin that refracted light in dazzling patterns, nodded and repeated the planetary scan. The results remained unchanged. "Captain, I've run it 3 times now. There's definitely an energy signature emanating from the planet's northern hemisphere that doesn't match their known technological capabilities. According to our database, humans are a level 2 civilization. They've barely reached their own satellite. This energy reading suggests at least level 5 technology." Nivara's secondary heart began beating faster, a physiological response to potential danger her species had evolved eons ago. "How did we miss this in the preliminary scans?" "That's the strangest part," Krell said, his voice lowering. "It wasn't active until 12 hours ago. Something turned it on." Nivara stared at the pulsing energy signature on the holographic display. In her 200 years of exploration, she had never encountered anything like this, a supposedly primitive species with technology that rivaled some of the Confederation's most advanced systems. "Assemble a research team," she ordered. "We're going down there." Dr. Eliza Chen wiped sweat from her brow as she carefully brushed dirt from what appeared to be an ancient stone tablet. The archaeological dig in northern Finland had started as a routine excavation of what they thought was a Viking settlement. 3 weeks in, Eliza and her team had discovered something that defied explanation. "Dr. Chen," called Marcus, one of her graduate students. "You need to see this." Eliza made her way through the excavation site to where Marcus stood at the entrance of a newly uncovered chamber. The walls were etched with symbols unlike any known human language, and in the center of the room stood a metallic pedestal that seemed impossibly preserved despite its apparent age. "Carbon dating puts the chamber at over 50,000 years old," Marcus said, his voice trembling with excitement. "But the material of this pedestal, it's not stone, not metal, nothing we can identify." Eliza approached the pedestal cautiously. Its surface was smooth and slightly warm to the touch, covered in the same strange symbols that adorned the walls. At its center was a circular depression. "Have you tried to open it?" she asked. Marcus shook his head. "We were waiting for you." Eliza hesitated. Archaeological protocol dictated careful documentation before attempting to interact with artifacts, but something about this discovery felt urgent. She reached out and placed her palm against the depression in the pedestal. The chamber filled with a soft blue light as lines of energy raced along the symbols on the walls. The pedestal hummed beneath Eliza's hand, and she felt a strange tingling sensation race up her arm. "What did you do?" Marcus whispered, staring wide-eyed at the now glowing chamber. Before Eliza could answer, the pedestal projected a holographic image, a star map of stunning detail showing Earth and its neighboring systems. And there, approaching Earth, was a pulsing red dot. "We have visitors," Eliza murmured. The Horizon Seeker's research shuttle landed silently in a clearing 2 kilometers from the human excavation site. Captain Nivara led the team, accompanied by Commander Krell, xenobiologist Dr. Thela Voss, and security officer Lieutenant Zorax. "Remember," Nivara cautioned as they disembarked, "this is strictly observation. The Confederation's non-interference directive applies. We assess the energy signature and leave. No contact with the natives." The team moved through the dense forest, their adaptive camouflage suits rendering them nearly invisible against the backdrop of trees and undergrowth. As they approached the excavation site, they saw humans bustling around what appeared to be the entrance to an underground chamber. "Look at their tools," Dr. Voss whispered. "So primitive. They're still using mechanical excavation methods." Nivara nodded, but her attention was fixed on the energy readings emanating from below ground. The signature is stronger here. Whatever it is, it's active and drawing power from somewhere. Suddenly, a pulse of energy swept outward from the excavation site, passing through the alien team like a wave. Their camouflage suits flickered and failed, leaving them exposed. "Captain," Krell hissed, "our systems are being scanned." Before Navarra could respond, a human female emerged from the underground chamber and stared directly at them. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, inexplicably, the human spoke, not in her native tongue, but in perfect Confederation standard. "The Sentinels have awakened," she said, her eyes glowing with an unnatural blue light. "The progenitors return." Lieutenant Zorax raised his stun weapon, but Navarra held up a hand to stop him. "Who are you?" she asked the human. "I am Eliza Chen," the human replied, her voice overlaid with a strange harmonic. "But I also carry the awakening protocol. We have been waiting for you, though we did not know it." "What protocol? What are you talking about?" Navarra demanded. The human, Eliza, gestured toward the chamber behind her. "Come and see what you have been seeking. Come and learn why your Confederation fears what sleeps on Earth." Against her better judgment, against all Confederation protocols, Navarra found herself following the human into the underground chamber. What she saw there changed everything she thought she knew about the universe. The chamber walls displayed holographic projections of space battles, of massive fleets bearing symbols similar to those on the chamber walls. And at the center of it all was a spinning golden orb that pulsed with power. "This is impossible," Dr. Voss whispered. "These are progenitor artifacts. The first race. They've been extinct for millennia." "Not extinct," Eliza/Protocol said. "Hidden. When the Great Purge came, the progenitors did not fight. They hid their technology, altered their genetic code, and became human." Navarra's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Humans are progenitors." "That's not possible. They're too primitive." Eliza smiled. "A deliberate choice. To hide in plain sight, they reduced themselves. The knowledge, the technology, all locked away in genetic memory, in artifacts like this one, waiting for the right moment to awaken." Commander Krell stepped forward. "If what you're saying is true, then the Confederation Council needs to be informed immediately. This changes everything." "Yes," Eliza agreed, "it does. But first, you should know that your arrival has triggered Phase 1 of the Awakening Protocol. Even now, dormant progenitor systems throughout this sector are coming online. The children of Earth are remembering who they once were." Navarra felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. If humans truly were descended from the progenitors, the legendary beings who had allegedly seeded the galaxy with life before mysteriously vanishing, then the power they might soon wield was beyond imagination. "Why are you telling us this?" she asked. Eliza's expression turned grave. "Because you have a choice to make, Captain Navarra Tezek of the Galactic Confederation. You can return to your people and tell them to prepare for war against a reawakening giant, or you can help us remember peacefully. The progenitors, humans, built the foundations upon which your civilization rests. We were explorers and creators, not conquerors." As if to underscore her words, the golden orb projected a new hologram, a map of the galaxy with thousands of points of light representing progenitor outposts, artifacts, and ships. Many lay within the heart of Confederation space. "The choice is yours," Eliza said. "But know this, the awakening has begun, and nothing in the galaxy will ever be the same." Navarra looked at her team, then back at the human with the glowing eyes. In that moment, she knew that the routine survey mission had become something far more significant. It had become first contact with the most powerful species the galaxy had ever known, a species that had been sleeping among the stars all along. The implications were staggering. If humans were indeed progenitors, then humanity wasn't joining galactic civilization. They had created it. Galactic showdown. The Confederation Council chamber buzzed with panic. Representatives from 1,200 species filled the massive amphitheater, their voices raised in fear and outrage as Captain Nivara Tezek's report played on the central holographic display. "This is preposterous," bellowed Councillor Drav, a massive tentacled being from the Orion arm. "Humans cannot be progenitors. The very idea is absurd." High Chancellor Vex, the ancient insectoid who had led the Confederation for the past century, raised a segmented limb for silence. "Captain Tezek's evidence is compelling," she said, her translator converting her clicks and chirps into standard. "The genetic markers, the activated technology, they all point to one conclusion. Humanity carries progenitor DNA. Then they must be contained immediately," said Councillor Shrika, her feathers bristling with agitation. "If these primitives gain access to progenitor technology, they could destroy everything we've built. The Confederation itself could fall." The Council erupted again, divided between those calling for immediate military action and those advocating caution. In the midst of the chaos, a small figure approached the central podium. Ambassador Zil, representative of the archivists, one of the oldest species in the Confederation. "Esteemed colleagues," Zil's soft voice somehow cut through the din. "There is something you should know, something that has been hidden in the archives for millennia." The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to the diminutive being. "The progenitors did not disappear," Zil said. "They were driven into hiding by our ancestors. On Earth, the awakening protocol spread like wildfire. From the initial site in Finland, dormant progenitor technology around the planet began activating. In the depths of the Mariana Trench, a massive structure that had been mistaken for a geological formation lit up with energy. Beneath the Antarctic ice, a network of tunnels leading to an ancient base began to hum with power. In the heart of the Sahara, sand shifted to reveal the outlines of a spacecraft larger than any human-built vessel. Governments worldwide scrambled to respond. Military forces were deployed. Scientists worked frantically to understand the technology that was revealing itself. And ordinary people began experiencing strange dreams, memories not their own, knowledge they couldn't possibly possess. Eliza Chen, now fully integrated with the Awakening Protocol's AI interface, stood before the United Nations Security Council in New York. Behind her stood Captain Nivara and Commander Krell, who had chosen to remain on Earth as liaisons. "What you're suggesting is impossible," the Secretary General said after Eliza's presentation. "You're claiming that humans are descendants of an advanced alien civilization, that we once ruled the galaxy." "Not ruled," Eliza corrected. "We guided it. The progenitors seeded compatible life throughout the galaxy, built the hyperspace network that enables interstellar travel, and established the foundational principles that eventually became the Galactic Confederation." "Then why don't we remember any of this?" demanded the Russian representative. Nivara stepped forward. "According to our historical records, the progenitors vanished approximately 150,000 Earth years ago. It was assumed they had died out or transcended physical form. The truth is more complicated," Eliza said. "The progenitors, our ancestors, faced a rebellion. Species they had uplifted, guided, and protected eventually came to resent their influence. Rather than engage in a devastating war, the progenitors chose to hide. They deleted much of their technology, altered their genetic code to suppress their advanced abilities, and settled on their homeworld, Earth, to live as a primitive species until the galaxy was ready for their return." Murmurs filled the chamber as the implications sank in. "And now?" asked the Secretary General. "Now we face a choice," Eliza replied. "The Awakening Protocol was designed to activate if progenitor descendants were ever discovered by the galactic community. It's restoring access to our heritage gradually, to prevent shock or misuse. But it cannot be stopped." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "You're saying we're about to become the most advanced species in the galaxy?" "Potentially," Nivara interjected. "But you should know that not everyone in the Confederation will welcome your return. Many fear what humanity might become with access to progenitor knowledge. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the building. A UN aide rushed into the chamber, his face pale. "Madam Secretary General," he said, "we're detecting multiple objects entering the solar system at high speed. They appear to be ships. Hundreds of them." Admiral Krax of the Confederation Defense Fleet stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Inevitable Justice, watching as his armada approached the human solar system. 300 ships, the largest military force assembled in 500 years, all with one purpose: containment of the human threat. "Admiral," his second-in-command reported, "we're detecting energy signatures consistent with awakening progenitor technology throughout the system. There's a particularly strong concentration around the third planet." Krax nodded, his expression grim beneath his bony ridge. "Deploy the containment grid. No signals in or out. Prepare the suppression weapons." "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet." "Ignore it," Krax ordered. "Sir, it's being broadcast on all frequencies, including secure Confederation channels. It's using progenitor encryption codes." Across the planet, humanity was changing, not physically, but mentally. The dormant sections of their genome, long dismissed as junk DNA, were activating. Knowledge buried for 150,000 years was resurfacing. People woke from dreams speaking languages they had never learned, understanding mathematics no human university taught, remembering places they had never visited, planets circling distant stars, cities that had turned to dust millennia ago. And with the knowledge came understanding of what the progenitors had truly been, not conquerors or rulers, but guardians and guides. A species that had achieved technological mastery and chosen to use it not for domination, but for creation and protection. In the heart of the progenitor battle station, now renamed Nexus, representatives from Earth's nations gathered alongside Captain Navarre, Commander Krell, and the other Confederation allies who had stood with humanity. At the center of the massive chamber stood Eliza Chen, now the primary conduit for the Awakening Protocol. "The final phase is nearly complete," she announced. "The protocol has reintegrated approximately 73% of the suppressed progenitor knowledge into humanity's collective consciousness." "And what happens at 100%? asked President Masso of the African Union. "We choose," Eliza replied simply. "The protocol does not dictate our path forward. It merely restores what was taken: our history, our technology, our understanding of the universe. What we do with that knowledge is up to us." Captain Navarre stepped forward. "The Confederation Council remains divided. Half the member species now support humanity's reintegration into galactic society. The others fear what your return might mean." "Their fear is understandable," Eliza acknowledged. "The historical records Ambassador Zill revealed show that the rebellion against the progenitors was driven by that same fear, not of oppression, but of dependency. Many species worried they would forever live in the shadow of their creators." "So what do we do?" asked the European Union president. "Force our way back into a society that may not want us." Eliza was about to respond when an alert chimed throughout the station. A holographic display appeared, showing a massive fleet dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, far larger than Admiral Krax's force. "It appears," Commander Krell said grimly, "that the decision has been forced upon us." The new fleet's commander wasted no time. A broad-spectrum transmission reached every communication device in the solar system. "This is High Admiral Vorix of the Confederation Defense Force. By authority of the Security Council, I am instructed to implement Protocol Omega against the human threat. You have 1 hour to surrender all progenitor technology and submit to genetic suppression procedures. Refusal will result in the implementation of final containment measures." The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Final containment was a euphemism for planetary sterilization. "They wouldn't," President Masso whispered. "They would," Navarre replied solemnly. "They're afraid." The progenitors, your ancestors, were the most advanced species the galaxy has ever known. The prospect of your return frightens many to their core. Eliza closed her eyes, the blue glow intensifying around her. The protocol has accelerated in response to the threat. Full integration will complete in approximately 43 minutes. Not enough time, Krell muttered. Even with the defense grid, we can't hold off a fleet that size indefinitely. We don't need to fight them, Eliza said, her eyes snapping open. We need to show them. High Admiral Vorex watched the countdown with cold determination. The humans had made no response to his ultimatum. His finger hovered over the command that would launch the first wave of planet killers, weapons designed to render a world uninhabitable. Admiral, his sensor officer called out, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet. Weapons? Vorex asked. No, sir. It's a transmission of some kind, but on a scale I've never seen. It's reaching every ship in the fleet simultaneously. Before Vorex could respond, his consciousness expanded. Suddenly, he wasn't on the bridge of his flagship anymore. He was everywhere and everyone at once. He saw the progenitors rise, not as conquerors, but as explorers and creators who had evolved on Earth millions of years before. He witnessed their discovery of other life in the galaxy, their careful nurturing of promising species, their building of the hyperspace network that made interstellar civilization possible. He felt their anguish when those they had helped turned against them, driven by fear and jealousy. He experienced their decision not to fight, but to hide, to alter themselves, and wait for a time when the galaxy might be ready to accept them again. Krax hesitated, then reluctantly nodded. On screen, the holographic display flickered to life, showing a human female with glowing blue eyes. This is Eliza Chen, speaking on behalf of humanity and the Awakening Protocol. Admiral Krax, your presence here is noted, as is your hostile intent. Be advised that Earth is now under progenitor protection. Any aggressive action will be met with appropriate response. Krax's mandibles clicked in agitation. You have no authority here, human. The Confederation Council has declared your species a potential threat to galactic stability. You will submit to containment procedures until your status can be properly assessed. We reject your authority in this matter, Eliza replied calmly. The progenitors founded the principles upon which your Confederation was built. We do not seek conflict, but we will defend ourselves. You have no means to do so, Krax said. Your species has barely achieved spaceflight. Stand down, or we will be forced to take action. Eliza smiled. You're wrong, Admiral. We've had spaceflight capabilities for far longer than you know. As she spoke, the sensors on Krax's dreadnought detected movement. From behind Earth's moon, from beneath the surface of Mars, from the asteroid belt, vessels were emerging. Sleek, gleaming ships of unmistakable progenitor design, dormant for millennia, but now awake and ready. And they outnumbered Krax's fleet 3-1. Last chance, Admiral, Eliza said. Withdraw your forces and inform the Confederation Council that humanity is ready to discuss peaceful reintegration into galactic society. Krax's mind raced. His orders were clear, but he hadn't expected this level of resistance. If those truly were functional progenitor vessels, his fleet stood little chance. Before he could respond, the inevitable justice rocked with a massive impact. Alarms blared across the bridge. We're under attack, his tactical officer shouted. From where? Krax demanded. Not the progenitor ships, sir. It's coming from another Confederation vessel. The survey ship Horizon Seeker. On the holographic display, Captain Nivara Tezek's face appeared alongside Eliza's. Admiral Krax, Nivara said, her voice resolute. I am acting under Article 7 of the Confederation Charter, which permits intervention when genocide is imminent. Stand down your forces immediately. This is treason, Captain Tezek, Krax hissed. No, Admiral, she replied. This is justice. The archives have revealed the truth. Our ancestors betrayed the progenitors, tried to eradicate them out of fear and jealousy. They hid this crime for millennia. I will not allow history to repeat itself. Throughout the system, Confederation ships began breaking formation. Some aligned with cracks, others with Nivara and the human fleet. The galaxy stood on the precipice of war. In orbit around Earth, a dormant progenitor battle station that had masqueraded as a small moon for thousands of years began to power up. The awakening had entered its second phase. Ascension. The battle for the Sol system lasted 17 minutes. Admiral Krax's forces fired the first shots, launching suppression missiles toward Earth. They never reached their targets. The ancient progenitor defense grid, now fully operational, intercepted each missile with precision. Then the progenitor vessels moved, their engines leaving trails of blue light as they effortlessly outmaneuvered the Confederation ships. Not a single Confederation vessel was destroyed. Instead, the progenitor ships deployed a technology that simply shut down their systems, leaving them drifting harmlessly in space. In the aftermath, as the disabled Confederation ships were towed into stable orbits, humanity continued its transformation. The Awakening Protocol's final phase had begun. Dr. James Hernandez, a neurologist from Buenos Aires, stared at the brain scans displayed on his laboratory screens. They showed his own brain, recorded over the past week as the Awakening Protocol progressed. "It's like watching evolution in fast forward," he murmured to his colleague, Dr. Sophia Mbeki. Sophia nodded, her own eyes glowing faintly with the now familiar blue light that indicated integration with progenitor knowledge. Neural density increasing by approximately 0.8% daily. New structures forming in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. And look at the quantum entanglement patterns in the synapses. They're becoming ordered, harmonized. Are we still human? James wondered aloud. Sophia smiled. We were always human, James. We're just remembering what that truly means. And he understood, with perfect clarity, that humanity had never sought dominion. They had sought connection. When Vorex's consciousness returned to his body, tears streamed down his face. Around him, his bridge crew were similarly affected, many openly weeping. "Sir," his communications officer said, voice breaking, "every ship in the fleet is reporting the same experience. They all saw." Vorex slowly lowered his hand from the launch control. "Open a channel to Earth," he said. 1 year later, the Galactic Assembly, formerly the Confederation Council, convened in its new headquarters, a gleaming structure that orbited Earth, designed with elements from all member species' architectural traditions. At its center was a garden containing plants from 1,000 worlds, symbolizing the diversity and unity of galactic civilization. Eliza Chen, now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Assembly, stood before the gathered representatives. The blue glow in her eyes had faded with time, the protocol having completed its work. 1 year ago, she began, we stood on the brink of destruction. Today, we stand together as equals, partners in the greatest cooperative endeavor in the history of the galaxy. Around the chamber, representatives from across the stars nodded in agreement. The integration of humanity, of the progenitors, back into galactic society had not been without challenges, but the shared consciousness experience had changed everything. It had shown the truth that fear had hidden for too long. The progenitor technology has been shared, as it was always meant to be, Eliza continued. Disease, famine, and energy scarcity are becoming distant memories on hundreds of worlds. The hyperspace network has been expanded, bringing isolated systems into our community. And the exchange of knowledge between all our peoples has led to innovations none of us could have achieved alone. Captain Nivara, now Admiral Nivara, commander of the Joint Earth Confederation Exploration Fleet, smiled from her seat beside Commander Krell. Their decision to stand with humanity had been vindicated 1,000 times over. But our greatest achievement, Eliza said, her voice strong and clear, isn't technological. It's the understanding that we are stronger together than apart. That diversity isn't just to be tolerated, but celebrated as the source of our greatest strengths. She gestured to the holographic display above, showing ships departing Earth's solar system, vessels of human and alien design, crewed by beings from across the galaxy, embarking on missions of exploration to the farthest reaches of space. This was always the progenitor dream, Eliza said, not to rule, but to explore, not to conquer, but to connect. And now, that dream belongs to all of us. As the assembly erupted in applause, Eliza gazed through the viewports at distant Earth, blue and beautiful against the backdrop of stars. Humanity had awakened to its true nature, its forgotten past. But more importantly, it had awakened to its purpose, not masters of the galaxy, but its guardians and guides. The awakening protocol was complete, and the true journey was just beginning. The end.